Hello and welcome. Welcome to everyone who's joining. We are about to get started. Very happy to have you all here. If you can give me a thumbs up, I'm going to try and now open up my chat here, but I want to see, can you hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
Here we go. Welcome to everybody who's joining. Happy to have you here. Okay, great. Glad to hear that you can hear me. It's started to rain where I'm living, and the rain is very loud. So there's nothing I can do about that. So I put in my headphones. If you want to let us know where you are joining from, we'd love to know that in the chat. My name is Jennifer Bongora, and I'm Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation, joining from Malawi in Southern Africa, where the weather is beautiful and the rains have just started. I mean, for today. It's been rainy season for a while. And so we have Amara, Chimaroke, Edison, Folarani, Ifeanyi, Ihab, Ishiaka, James, Olawumi, Peter, our faithful Peter here, Shade, Toby, I hope I said your names correctly. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to those of you joining from Egypt and Nigeria and Indonesia. Wow, Edison, that's neat. It's always so fun to see where everyone's joining from. So we'll just give it another moment or so for the room to fill up. We have some people still joining, but we are really happy to have you here for this Nexford exclusive career session. So we only have our Nexford alumni in the room with us. We're excited to talk about some tips and tricks for navigating life after graduation. So I think we can go ahead and get started. And if you want to put in the chat too, are you all able to see my screen okay? Okay, just a yes is good. I just want to make sure. Sometimes I get going and then I find that people can't see. Peter, so glad to have you here. Okay, so you can see my, okay, great. So here we are together, gathered together for this great alumni session. We'll be doing this on a monthly basis where we have Nexford learners and alumni only invited to sessions. This is a part of your Nexford experience while you are a learner, when you graduate, to find ways to stay connected, share ideas and resources, opportunities, and insights. A little housekeeping before I get fully started. Please, I know some great questions are going to come up during the webinar. So use that Q&A. It might be on the bottom of your screen, depending on where you have your bar. But add your questions to the Q&A so we can keep track of them. And we'll answer them either throughout, depending on, if I can see the questions, or after, at the end when we'll have time for a Q&A. So let me not get too far ahead of myself, and I will do my best to keep an eye on the chat here. Let me make sure that I can see that. So here is a brief overview, table of contents, agenda for what we're going to cover today during our time together. So we have in brief introductions, who I am, why I'm here. Then we are going to talk about all things navigating life after graduation. We have some pretty exciting things in store coming ahead for our Nexford alumni and learners. And so I'm really grateful that you all are here. We will be, of course, sharing information by email as well, but we'll give you some insight into that during this webinar. So today we'll talk about finding a job, building a career, balancing your work and life, how to stay connected to Nexford, and then time for Q&A. And I see we have some questions already coming in the Q&A, so that's great. Keep those coming. So first up, some introductions. I'm wearing my same earrings and blazer as in the picture. So hi, my name is Jennifer Bongora, and I am Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. I've been with Nexford a little over 1.5 years. Let me just check the chat. Okay, great. Oh yes, and also as housekeeping, you will, I think, receive a copy of the recording and a copy of the presentation as well. So my name is Jennifer Bongora. I am originally from the United States, and I currently work with Nexford University from Malawi. I work remotely from here and support our learners in a number of different ways and alumni, but really focus on all things career development related. So what I care about, and what many people at Nexford care about, but what the thing that I really spend my time on is thinking, how can we help our learners and alumni move from education to employment, and how are we really help connect the dots to better jobs for our learners and alumni, because that's really important. That's why many of you likely enrolled at Nexford, was to improve your chances, either to improve your own business or to improve your chances to secure a better job or position within your current company. My background is in global higher education, online learning, and career development. So that's all I've been working on for almost the past 10 years. Both in the United States, I was working with programs in Iraq and Morocco, and now currently support Nexford learners and alumni globally. So I wanted to touch on three ideas around finding a job, because the first question we have in the Q&A is, how can I work for Nexford? And the way that I like to think about finding a job is breaking it down into industries, companies, and people. And you can find a job or navigate a job search focused on these 3 different areas. And so I just wanted to talk about some strategies to put into practice as you are looking as you're looking for a job yourself. So first, industries. And this is just helpful, what you might want to do depending on how you operate. Like you can have a notebook, maybe you have a Google Doc or a Google spreadsheet where you save information. But I encourage you to be curious in life. Keep your eyes and ears open to things happening around you. This could be in real life, in your physical world, or online. When you learn about a new industry, one great example now is being a prompt engineer with generative, artificial intelligence and generative AI. So using things like ChatGPT, technologies like that. When you hear about a new industry, and sometimes it's uncomfortable because maybe I said those words and that doesn't mean anything to you right now, look it up. Use Google, use different search engines to learn more and understand, what is this industry that I've just heard about? LinkedIn forces you to choose one industry for your profile. So everyone on LinkedIn has one industry associated with their profile. And if you look up LinkedIn industries, you can find a list of all the industries that are on LinkedIn. Sometimes people create a career not out of one job, but they specialize in an industry. So that could be financial services, it could be transportation and logistics, it could be marketing, communications. Maybe over the course of your career, you will move, among different industries, or you might have different roles within one industry. So that's just something to think about, and it's a way to frame a job search and how to find a job. So You can filter on LinkedIn. You can use the filter features on the jobs to filter for roles and companies by industry. And we can look at that together if you all would like at the end. Next is to find a job from companies that you admire and follow. So, I saw in the chat that we had people who are joining today from Nigeria, from Indonesia, from Egypt. For all of the countries that I have now seen listed here, LinkedIn puts out a top companies to work for all of those countries. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. But even if you don't have a top companies list for your country, stay curious. When you learn about new companies, if you read an article on whatever news source you follow, if you have a friend who works at a company, start to ask questions. Do they like working there? Look onto people's profiles. I mean, I'm telling you, LinkedIn is the best place to get a better understanding of what companies are like, what it's like to work there. You can see if people who work at those companies are sharing articles or sharing news from that company, and get a real, insight into what it's like to work there. And then finally, a way to find a job is through people. So maybe you, this could be like, again, in your immediate network. The Nexford alumni network is growing by the month. So we have more and more alumni who are working at interesting places. The more I meet with Nexford alumni, the more excited I get about the future for our alumni group, because you all really are already working at such interesting places, and you're building a truly global network, unlike almost any university that I've interacted with. So when you see people who have careers that you admire, follow them on LinkedIn. So I'm putting that in quotes. You can follow people. You can also connect with them and actually, become a first-degree connection. Why that is important and relevant is because the more you connect with very relevant people, I'm not saying go out and connect with random people. I'm talking about relevant people who are aligned with your interests, with either the industries or the companies that you're interested in working for. It's going to continue to feed your, to fill your feed with relevant job opportunities and news for you to file away. Maybe you're not job seeking right now, but you probably will be. And to think about, oh yeah, I've been seeing this company that's been hiring or that's been putting out, certain information that it seems interesting to me. I need to make sure to follow up and learn more. And I want to share an example with you all of earlier today, how I connected with somebody and how this person found me. So I'm going to do that real quick because I want to make sure that you all are getting practical tips and insights. So here is, I'm pulling up, I have a few tabs that I wanted to share with you all. But earlier today, a woman reached out to me on LinkedIn, and she said, actually, it's this person. She said, hi, if you can on the bottom, I came across your profile on the event being hosted by the Kenyan tech recruiters and project managers. It will be a pleasure to join your network. So that's what she included as the message when she reached out to me. I actually didn't know what she was talking about because I was like, I'm not speaking at an event. What does she mean? What she means is that she saw that I liked this LinkedIn post. And I thought, well, this is an interesting example. And this is happening tomorrow. So I think virtual. And I actually don't know how I saw this. Someone from my network must have liked it and it came up on my feed, right? So then I thought, wow, well, what would I do? And I've done similar things, but it was still, a fun surprise to me. When you see posts like this, this person asking, are you curious about the recruitment process for product managers? I'm not personally curious about it for my own career, but I am curious about it for our Nexford alumni, because I know that's a career path that many people want to go into. And also, these people look very interesting who are speaking at the event. Now, I might not attend, but what I could do is look at who the speakers are. And if I hover over their name, let's see if it comes up. If you click on their profile, if I'm not already connected, this option comes up here that I could follow her. So now if I knew her, maybe I want to connect with her, but what I want to do is follow her because now she is somebody working at Microsoft, which is a great company. And she, as I can see in this activity section, I can see she's posting interesting and relevant links on her LinkedIn profile. So that over time is going to continue to fill my feed with potentially relevant job opportunities for our Nexford learners and alumni that we would want to curate. Soon we're going to start having a more streamlined process for getting really interesting job opportunities in front of you. Right now it's a little bit ad hoc via LinkedIn. But this is what I mean when I say find people and companies and industries. So the industry here would be more broadly like product management, but companies, we have Microsoft, there's different, I think there might be another company represented here. And then people, like here are specific people that I would want to follow or connect with. Does anyone have any questions before I move on about this? And if you do, you can put it in the chat or in the Q&A. I just want to make sure that you know exactly what I mean when I say find people, because sometimes it can be a little bit like, well, I'm not sure what that really means. Okay, I think we're good then. Let me get back to this one. Let me open up share screen. Next we had to talk about building a career and what this really means. What I think is so exciting, one of many things exciting about Nexford, is that we have such a diversity of people pursuing different career paths and who are at different stages of their career already. So some people are starting out, they've finished secondary and are moving into their BBA. Other people, many alumni right now have finished their MBA, and maybe they've actually worked a few years and they're pursuing their MBA to get ready for that next pivot or promotion. I want to really encourage you to continually ask yourself, what am I really looking for in my career? And how you can do that is, I have 5 ways that I would recommend. First is making a plan. I was thinking about this morning, 2 of the most powerful assignments that I did in my graduate programs. The first was doing an informational interview. Has anyone done an informational interview? Do you know what that is? I'll explain it, but I'd love to know in the chat if someone has done an informational interview. An informational interview is like what I talked about before, when you find people who have an interesting career path that seems relevant to you, and you reach out to them and you ask them questions about their career, how they got there, what knowledge, skills, and experience they have built or cultivated to get where they are in their career. So that was the first one. The second one was called this painted picture assignment. And it was creating a vision, so making a plan, but creating a vision for what I wanted my life to look like in the next 6 months to 3 years. So I'm not asking you I'm telling you to make a plan to say, I want to be the vice president of business development. That's great. It's good to know, to have that specific. What I mean when I say make a plan, it's like really all encompassing. And I want you to think of your senses. So your sight, your smell, your touch, what you hear, what you can feel, what you can see. think of all the senses around you. And when you are making that career plan, what do you envision for yourself? What kind of people are around you? What are you listening to? What can you hear and smell and taste? And that you might be saying to yourself, what does that have to do with my career? But when we can visualize something, just like with when you were pursuing your Nexford degree or certificate, I'm sure we're encouraged continually throughout your program by your success advisor to remember why you set out to pursue and complete this degree. When you have something on the other end to really be specific about, you'll be so much more likely to persist and pursue whatever it is that you've set ahead of you. When we move through life kind of aimlessly, it just can feel like you have a lack of direction and a lack of purpose. So I encourage you to sit down, and maybe it's writing out a paragraph of what in 6 months or a year, here's, what I want my life to look like. And then you'll start to fill in some of the information with, what is going to allow you to have that life. Maybe it's making a better salary. Maybe it's really focusing on finding a remote job so you can not commute as much. Think about what it is, again, that's going to allow you to have that life that you are envisioning. The second, so we talked about there's going to be 5 things for building a career. The first is make a plan. Second, I cannot stress this enough, how important this is, but please really invest quality time in building your network. I don't mean that you need to be out there becoming a social media influencer or passing out business cards to strangers. What I mean is really being intentional about identifying people that either you can help right now or who can help you later on. So what I mean here too is, again, not reaching out to someone and saying, hi, Peter, I really think your job looks interesting. Can you help me get a job? No, it's, you see somebody who's doing interesting work. How can you help elevate their work? It's called, Adam Grant, who is an organizational psychologist, calls it give and take. We all at some point are givers and we all are takers. Some people, as I'm sure you know, spend more time giving. Some people spend more time taking. Ideally, you want to find a balance between the two. That's how you really can build a meaningful network, is by building up, connecting with people, whether that's in real life or on LinkedIn, who you can not only learn from, but that you can also give back to as well. So the third area, so we've talked about making a plan, building a network. The third area for your building your career is to market yourself. Now here again, I don't need you to start posting every day on LinkedIn or Twitter, but if you want people to know you for something, you have to spend a little bit of time on cultivating your own personal and professional brand. And I promise you, it's not as difficult as you might imagine. So again, you don't have to start building out a content schedule every day. A content schedule or anything, but you do want to think about, what are the 3 to 5 things that I want people to know me for? And as we talked about before, maybe throughout your career, you're going to shift industries or roles. That's okay. Think about, what are the 3 to 5 things right now that you want somebody to know, to associate with you. So, and that's often what I like to see in people's headlines, because that gives me an insight into what they care about. And it's helpful for me when I'm thinking about, if I see an open job and I want to send it someone's way, when they have what they care about in their headline on LinkedIn, or I know that they've been posting about that, it makes it easier for me to send something relevant in their direction. And that's the same for a lot of people. So we've talked about making a plan, building your network, marketing yourself. Next is to keep learning job-related skills. So especially when you're early on in your career, but to be honest, it's really throughout your career, please keep, again, your eyes and ears open to what you need to be doing to continue to build up your skills. Because it's, maybe 30 years ago, you went to school and that was all. And, then you kept going in your career. But now we see the rapid shifts in technology. We need to be consistent, lifelong learners. And, continuing to be curious about what can I do to improve my, how I'm working or how I'm contributing to my employer. And you can do that by keeping your ears open or your eyes open. Oh my goodness, the rain's really coming now. When a new project happens, whatever it might be. Oh. So keep your eyes, stay aware of what tools or platforms your company or the company that you want to be working for is asking for. The easiest way to do that is to look at job descriptions. Again, this could be for your current company. Maybe you want to pivot into a new role at your current company. Look at the open roles on the website, see what skills that you need to have and how you can continue to nurture them or develop them. So we talked about making a plan, building your network, marketing yourself, continuing to learn job-related skills, and then always, try to find ways to work on your transferable skills. So maybe you've heard these called soft skills before, but there are some skills that are becoming more important as we have more technology, and that is your ability to communicate with others, your ability to be a problem solver, and your ability to be a critical thinker, because those are skills that transfer across industries, across companies. And if you're saying to yourself right now, I don't need to learn how to be a better communicator, or I don't need to learn how to be a better problem solver, I promise you, we all do. So, and I'm going to say that you're wrong. We all have work to do on how we can improve those skills. So find ways to practice that in the world, whether that's raising your hand for a presentation that you need to give at work and really putting thoughtful time and energy into preparing for it, or maybe it's reaching out to somebody who you've seen on LinkedIn or at your company who is really great at insert a skill, giving presentations, and say, hey, would you be willing to talk with me sometime and give me some advice on how I could be better at, something specific, communication, presentations, coming up with ideas. We all have strengths and growth areas. And that's what makes the world an interesting place, is we all have something to offer. And it feels really good when other people turn to you as an expert in a certain area. So, sometimes, you're not that you're doing someone a favor by reaching out, but it's validating to them to say, hey, I can tell you're an expert in this area and I'd love to learn from you. And there's so many opportunities for you to do that, whether that's in where you work. Maybe it's a fellow Nexford learner who you're seeing that you admire, or someone in real life that in your community of friends and family. Something else, as we're considering how you navigate life after graduation, is this work-life balance. Sometimes I like also calling it, more of a work-life rhythm, because we all have different demands on our time. But here are some core ways that you can try and cultivate a sense of balance in your life. First, have a focus on your values. Those are the things that are non-negotiables for you, that are important and that you hold dear. And this is so personal. I cannot tell you what your values are. You can't tell me what my values are. So it's something that you need to really know about yourself. And I'll show you all a link to a free assessment that you can do if you're like, well, I really don't know what my values are, it's this great tool that you can use to kind of get down to your top 5 values. Prioritize your time management. So again, sometimes people really like having pen and paper and starting each day with thinking, what are my top priorities? What are the 5 to 10 things I need to get done today? And then prioritizing them and saying, what are now my top 3 that I need to get done? A, B, and C. And once you get those done, you can take a little bit of a breath, and then the others, if they need to get shifted to the next day, but really being thoughtful with your time management. The next, and this is what we saw from before, it's so important. I cannot stress this enough, to build relationships with people around you. This is, again, reaching out to people that you currently work with, reaching out to fellow Nexford learners and alumni, finding people who work at your target companies, and if they're posting on LinkedIn, engaging with their content. Next is setting boundaries. So this, and I'm so sorry, can you all hear me okay? Because the rain now is quite loud where I am. Can you, in the chat, can someone write if you can hear me? All right. Because I can barely hear myself. Okay, great. Thank you, Fularani. So this one, set boundaries, is very hard, and I'm speaking from personal experience. But maybe, and again, this is going to depend on your employer, because sometimes your employer doesn't really even allow you to set boundaries. But this could be, around the times that you're actually working. So if you work from home, saying I have a start time and a stop time, or, having certain times in the day where you're able to be with your family. I really value when people communicate their boundaries with me, because your boundaries are not going to be the same as my boundaries. And so sometimes we can feel a disconnect in a lot of relationships, personal and professional, because we haven't clearly communicated our boundaries with somebody, right? And what you think is appropriate is not what I think is appropriate. And this is, I think, an increasingly important area to consider as you're working with people across cultures and across time zones. So sometimes, it might be okay with you to get WhatsApp messages from your boss after hours, and maybe you just don't respond, or maybe, you talk with them in your one-on-one and say, hey, I'm noticing that you're sending a lot of messages after hours. Can we talk about that? Are you expecting me to respond right away? And they might say, oh, no, I just wanted to send that to you, get it off my mind, but totally fine to respond the next day. It's really important to not only set your boundaries, but also communicate them with other people, so that they know, what they can expect of you. And then finally, really prioritizing relaxing. Having downtime, making that a priority with your friends and family and community, and setting things to look forward to can really make a huge difference, and feeling like even when work feels overwhelming or feels like a lot, you're actually able to be intentional and set time. Maybe that's like, for me, I've said to myself for 2023, once a month, I want to get a manicure and pedicure. And it's something that I can easily track. Like, I know whether I'm due for one, by the way. But it's something that I think is important for me to slow down and spend time relaxing. For you, it might be just sitting and spending an hour a week journaling. It's different again for everybody, what people want, and it can change over time. So thank you so much for that you can hear me. I'm glad. In the chat, keep your questions coming in the Q&A. So now we're going to move into staying connected to Nexford. So we have our wonderful, alumni team who's focusing on how we can best support Nexford alumni. And some feedback we hear is like, you all are hungry for engagement. You want Nexford to continue to show that they care about you even after graduation, which I hope you can feel is true and is something that we also share as a value. And as someone who's graduated from 3 different universities for my undergrad, my master's, my doctoral program, I've often found, and maybe you've found this yourself, the real value in your alumni network, it starts with you. And it starts with the relationships you build with one another. So we at Nexford can host webinars, we can host events when we host them in person or online. And I want to challenge you and encourage you to take on your role as alumni as well. And what that means, because I promise you it will pay off over time. So first is sharing your story. So when you share your story, whether that's again in person with people you're meeting, online through different posts, people start to associate you with Nexford. And okay, sorry y'all, the power went out here. You'll just give me one moment so I can recalibrate here. I'm gonna just give me one moment, please, okay? We're back in action. The power here in Malawi is not a joke, as maybe you have experienced where you live. So we're got my ring light on, but I think I won't share screen for a minute. But what I was talking about was how to stay connected as an alumni. So first, we talked about sharing our story and how that helps you keep connected to Nexford is that, we are a global university. Even within this call with 30 people, we have people from Indonesia, South Africa, the US, Malawi, Nigeria, Egypt on one call. It is impossible to stay in touch with everybody all the time, right? One of the easiest ways that you can do that is through social media. We now have our great WhatsApp group. Keep people, posted about how they can support you. And again, this could be through a post of sharing your story, but it also can be through private messaging. Reach out to people, let them know what you need, or and that is jumping to the second one. Make sure you're staying connected with your fellow learners and alumni. I continue, like I said, to be so impressed by Nexford learners and alumni and your careers and your interests. If you don't connect with learners and alumni, though, you won't be able to necessarily hear about their work or see the different things that they're doing. So I think the easiest way is to connect with people on LinkedIn, but maybe you have other channels. Maybe people have active. I'm not sharing my screen because I do not have a second screen right now. So I will, but let me see. Let me go ahead and try here. And I will share this. Let me know. Can you see my screen now? Chimaroke? You good to go? Okay, super. Thank you, Tosan. Thank you, Ehab. So we've talked about sharing our story. Second, connecting with fellow learners and alumni. You have such a rich community of people who, and again, this happens all the time. And I'll give you a good example. Someone that I connected with from my own alumni organization, or excuse me, my university, my own alumni group. She had a really, on LinkedIn, had a very impressive looking job title at a really cool looking company. And I reached out to her because I saw that we were both alumni living in the same city. And I just wanted to connect and said, hey, it's great to see a fellow, USC alumni. And actually she responded to me and said, great to connect. I'm actually looking for a job right now, and would love to, connect sometime to discuss. When I reached out to her, I had no idea that would be the case. I actually thought, she looks like she is in a very cool job. And things like that will happen throughout your career. You can never know what's happening in someone's life unless you're like really close to that person. So I want to encourage you to be that person for somebody else. You reach out and say, hey, it's just great to see another Nexford alumni living in the same city, or in another country that you're interested in. And throughout your lives, you're going to have times where you're looking for, they're looking for a job. When they send you a job, description that looks interesting, that's going to happen over and over again. It's not an overnight thing, right? But over time, it will happen like that. Excuse me. So finally is please, please, please share job opportunities and share opportunities that you see with those around you. This is so valuable, and it's twofold. One, you're helping other people who are looking for roles. At the same time, you are positioning yourself as an expert or someone that we can turn to in that space. So if over time, and again, you could share this on social media, please, if you're not on our WhatsApp group, make sure you're sharing open roles, because we want to be here to support one another. And that is going to help reinforce your bonds and connection to fellow Nexford alumni, and also help your company or recruit interesting people like you. So that's the end of my formal presentation. I have this quote here that quality is not an act, it is a habit. So everything that I've shared with you, these are not, you start doing them today and tomorrow your life is going to change. No, I'm not out here trying to sell something, overnight, get rich quick scheme. These are things that are habits. And the more that you put them into practice, the better you become at doing them. Something I'm super excited about that we are going to have coming up in April is we're going to have a webinar just for our Nexford learners and alumni with a group called Pro Fellow. So let me put this in the chat. So for those of you who are interested, now that you've finished at Nexford, if you are interested in pursuing additional studies, whether your PhD or getting a fellowship based on your specific areas of interest, we're going to have a webinar with the founder of this company, Pro Fellow. She's curated thousands of opportunities on an ongoing basis, and she's going to present to us on how to be a really compelling and relevant candidate for fully funded doctoral programs and fellowship opportunities. And I'm meeting with her tonight actually to talk about, here are some of the specific parameters for our Nexford community and where people are living around the world. And so she's going to integrate that and be aware of that when she presents. I'd encourage you to check that out. We'll be in touch and sending that invitation just to our Nexford alumni and learners in the next few weeks. But that's something to get excited about. We also have coming up, again, just for our Nexford learners and alumni, a remote internship opportunity with a venture capital fund called Global Ventures, who's actually an investor in Nexford. And I hope, what we're really trying to focus on in 2023, especially now with our fabulous accreditation news, is how can we connect you all to more, opportunities following graduation, whether it's through fellowships, more studies, job opportunities, and global remote work so that you can do just like you've done your education and learning from home, have that opportunity to be able to work from home as well. We continue to appreciate and value the constructive feedback that you share. So please know, we're responsive. We're doing our best to be responsive to you. Yeah, I'm super excited about this Pro Fellow. It's going to be a very cool opportunity. So now I want to go to the Q&A, and let me open this up. The first one is, how can we work for Nexford? So if you go to the Nexford page, and if you'll just give me a moment, I'm going to show you how to do that. But let me show you, because it's, Nexford is a good example, but this, you could do this for any company. So give me one moment and I'll share my screen. I'll open up our Nexford website. When you come to any page, and we'll use Nexford as our example, here for Nexford, oops, that's great. I come up and our careers page is here. So see, we're hiring. You click on that and you scroll down and let's see the job openings. So here you can see the different job openings that are available. Now, what's really important when it comes to any company, including Nexford, look and see where this role actually is based. If it's fully global remote, if you need to be in a certain country. So you can see some of our roles are remote, but you need to be based in South Africa or Johannesburg area. So if I am based in Nigeria and I see a telemarketing role open in Manila, there's likely a reason that it's based there. It's very likely for time zone coverage. So don't frustrate yourself by applying to roles that are not going to be aligned with your availability and be a good option. So take some time on any career page and look around and see, really read through it and see where that role is based. Let me look in the Q&A. So I answered that live. So this person says, hi, I have a background in design and animation, but because of my job experience, I'm started to be interested in business and marketing instead. How do I change my job scope? So I have a great example for this. So if you'll just bear with me, I'm gonna share my screen again. And sorry, we got a little light flashing. Let me turn my light off here. Now it's just making it look like I'm in a sci-fi movie, which I'm not. So I'll show you a specific way that somebody could transition. And I'm going to use this great example that somebody's put in the chat. I'll come here and I know about a specific company. This is in South Africa. So I'm going to show you what I would do if I was this person looking for it. My interest and my previous experience is in design and animation, but I'm interested in the business and marketing. So you find a company potentially that works in design and animation. This specific company is on Impact Gaming. It's an Impact Gaming studio. So then you take time and you look at, you come onto this page, and every company that's, a little bit bigger than, a shop that you see around the corner is going to have a LinkedIn page. I see the home, about, hosts, jobs, people. So I can come to people here, and what I will want to do, and again, I don't have a paid LinkedIn, so I have a normal LinkedIn account. So you should be able to see what I'm seeing when you search for yourself. So I see where they live, where they studied, and then I can see what they do and what they are skilled at. What they do here is the industry that they have as their on their LinkedIn profile. Now, this isn't going to be a perfect science, but what I would do is I want to say, well, who is working in business development at this company that I could be potentially interested in? And here are the 6 people. Now, again, this is after you've identified a specific company, or even to know that that's the industry you're interested in is great. But now what I would do is I would say, well, this person is doing business development and they're the business development lead. So I right click, open a new tab. This person's the head of client services, open a new tab. And I would want to look at their profiles, look at what experience they have. I can tell here from their hashtags, what they're interested in talking about. I can see these featured posts that this person has shared, and I can click on those because they've done the work for me. I could follow her profile if I didn't want to connect with her. Oops. But there's so much rich information in here, and you can see too the activities that this person is posting, comments and posts. And then here I can read their about and get to know them a little bit better. So this is the process of like, you've just told me an industry, so you know, of or rather your background, design and animation, but wanting to shift. You've identified a company, and then now there are 6 people within a, you know, company that could be potentially relevant to your career shift or pivot, excuse me. So I hope that's helpful. So we had a question about somebody graduated in November, and they're hoping to join the alumni WhatsApp group. And we will take down, I'm writing your name down now. This WhatsApp group started a couple days ago, I think. So please don't feel left out because it's just started. So I wrote down your name and we will be in touch about joining the WhatsApp group. So thank you for that question. So let me come back here. Are there any other questions that you have, or please put them in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand, I think, put it in the chat. Let us know. We have a few more minutes left if people would like to, you know, and I'm here and at your service. Yeah, I'll give it a little more time. Oh, great. So is that okay to share? Levo, may I share this link? Yeah. And does anyone have any additional questions? We're going to be doing this again on an ongoing basis, on at least a monthly basis. Have an opportunity to connect as alumni. In future sessions, we'll be able to have breakout groups, and we will talk about specific topics, and then I'm going to put you in breakout rooms so that you can have a peer session. I find those to be very valuable, no matter where people are in their careers, because we all process information differently. So you'll hear the information and then talk of this being metacognition of, you know, reflecting on what we've learned. So when we do that, it reinforces a little bit more what we've absorbed. So what I'd like for you all to do, if you have that piece of paper, or if you know, maybe you have it on your notes on your phone, before we disconnect here, I want you to think about what are 2 to 3 takeaways that you have from this webinar. So we've talked about navigating life after graduation. We covered a number of different areas, including, you know, finding a job, building a career, balancing your work and life, and staying connected to Nexford. So from what I've shared and from the great questions that we had, what are, you know, 2 to 3 things that you're going to do now that you have some more information available to you? So really just spend a few minutes thinking about this before you disconnect. You'll be getting a survey when you close out of the webinar. We really welcome your feedback and input, because that's what helps us design, you know, our future sessions. It's really based on what you need and what you want and what you communicate to us. So with that, since I'm not seeing, oh, one's in the Q&A. So someone's asking, I want to know about the opportunity so for someone in Indonesia who wants to join working. Actually, you know, I don't know. What I would encourage anybody who's interested in working at any company, please look at the careers page. Look at, just like I showed you on LinkedIn, people who are working for that company. See if there are other people based in that country. As you start to reflect on remote work, global remote work, there are a lot of intricacies, and we are going to have a global remote work guide coming out soon. You know, you might see a remote job, but that doesn't mean it's remote from anywhere. It might be remote in a certain country. And so I encourage you to be a good researcher and go and look at a company page, see if anyone else is working in that country for the company that you're looking at. Just because they don't have someone there yet doesn't mean they can't hire somebody, but it's just something to consider. So please look at those careers pages. This is what I would encourage you to do. Yes, so thank you to everyone. Conscious networking. I love that, Kazim. That's great. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and